last couple of days I was on the road together with the extreme technical progressive death metal band called Alkaloid, and during that shows I had to play the hardest solo that I ever had to play in a live situation. Why? This solo was super difficult, and what I've learned about being relaxed on stage, getting more out of your technique, and different practice approaches to conquer this kind of live scenario, I will tell you more in today's video. Here we go. Hey Guitar Champion, what's going on? I'm 𝙎𝙤𝙢𝙚𝗏 back from my practice dojo, and welcome to today's video. As I've already said, Alkaloid is an extreme, technical, progressive death metal band. And not only technically, but also musically one of the most challenging bands that I've ever played in. Formed in 2012 by people like, for example, Linus Klausenitzer, the German progressive bass legend, Morian on vocals on guitar, who usually is doing stuff like this. One of the pioneers of extreme death metal drumming, Hannes Grossmann, and shred legend Christian Münzner, who left in 2024, where I replaced him. I'm now in that band for 2 years. We played a couple of shows together, and last weekend we again were on the road playing the crazy madness of Alkaloid. And a couple of days before the first show, Hannes Grossmann called me and asked me, "Dude, we have a little bit of time over. Can you do like a long solo, live solo? You know, like Paul Gilbert and Mr. Big from 1991? John Petrucci and Live in Japan from 1995? Or Michael Romeo back in the day?" And I was like, sure, of course, I would love to, because I never did something like this. And we shred lovers all know those legendary live solo performances that all leaves us in awe, standing there either on YouTube or even in front of those guys thinking, what the fuck are they doing? Of course I wanted to do something like this. But after writing that solo, I got really nervous, really nervous. I will get into the solo later in that video, but first I want to talk a little bit why this is a difficult situation and what I've learned about being relaxed on stage. As I've said, the music of Alkaloid is not really easy. I mean, rhythmically we have songs like Azagthoth, which is a constant 4/5 kind of rhythm. Or songs like Newman, where I had to play a 7 rhythm while the drums are playing 12/60 notes. And getting these kind of things on stage without much rehearsal. Plus, of course, the technical shredding and the soloing of Christian Münzner, like some obscure major 7#11 tapped arpeggios that are shifted in minor thirds, which recreates the halftone-whole-tone scale, plus a 7/16 rhythm, like in the solo of Clusterfuck. Or the legendary Alter Magnitude solo. All of this stuff, not easy. Not much of rehearsals, and definitely not easy, but doable. And then we had my solo spot. And with all the things that I just mentioned, there's one thing that really helped, and that's a safety net, which is the band. Because when in one of those solos you fucked up, which I surely did, audience is not really hearing that probably too well, at least if it's not a major fuck up, but maybe if you have some hand synchronization issues here and there, or maybe 1 or 2 notes are not the correct one. I mean, the amount of notes during that together with the band is so immense the audience probably will not listen, and you can be a little bit more relaxed because you know you have that safety net. And when you get kicked out of a solo, you can always find a space to get back into the music because of the rest of the band. When you're being alone on stage, playing a solo on your own, you don't have that safety net anymore. That is a really uncommon and unfamiliar scenario. I once had this when I did my final exam, my final concert while studying jazz guitar in university. There I had to play one solo song, just me alone. That was super, super frightening, yeah, I had a lot of respect for it, but that's nearly 10 years ago, and it was not shred guitar, it was like more jazz guitar, no distortion, so there were a little bit more room for mistakes. Here now, highly distorted guitar, being alone, not easy. So how did I deal this kind of scenario, and how did I deal not being nervous anymore? Because in the end, I have to say, I was quite relaxed on stage. Of course, the performances, they weren't perfect, but I was relaxed, and I kind of feel happy, and I'm proud of what I've delivered on stage. But how did I prepare for that? Well, basically with one thing, practicing, but practicing hard and smart. So for example, I said to myself, and that's the one thing that I've learned back in university preparing for those solo songs, I said to myself, I will play this song or this solo from start to end, 2.5 minutes in one piece every night and every morning. And I will record myself. Why is it so? Because when I do this before going to bed, you know, you are tired, you are exhausted. You had a long day practicing some really heavy stuff. You were filming your videos, you have to deal with taxes, Christmas, whatever. And then you are exhausted in the end of the day. And then trying to play such technical, demanding piece, that is not easy. Or it makes this situation definitely not easier. But when you are in the worst condition to play these kind of things, and you can still nail certain aspects of that solo, you can be sure you can nail them while being on stage. And the things that you will fuck up or that were not working so good, you're recording yourself, and the next day you can work on that with a fresh mind, with a fresh head, after waking up, the first thing to do in the morning, getting down here into the practice dojo and start working on those things. And while playing that solo, standing up here in my practice dojo, I was body scanning. So I was constantly scanning and searching if there are any muscles tightening up. Is there anything that feels uncomfortable or that could lead my fingers to not work anymore like it was intended or like how I told them to work? And every time when I found something, I started to focus on, for example, my breath technique. So do I have a constant breath flow? Or am I like... or am I relaxed and I have a constant breath flow? That's so important for being relaxed, that your breath is flowing. That is super, super important. Otherwise, you will easily tighten up certain muscles. And then the licks from that solo, there were a good balance out of licks that are familiar and common for me, but also some licks that, yeah, were a little bit challenging here and there. Because, I mean, I love the challenge, and why not doing something when you have the chance to do something like that? Why not making it a little bit more interesting? You know, spice it up a little bit and trying to play some licks that you may haven't played before live. Like in this case, certain sweep arpeggios and certain scale runs. Again, we will talk about the whole solo later on that video, but you can download the tabs if you want as well for free. Check out the link in the description box. And the good thing with those lines, even though that some of them were maybe unfamiliar, is I could always rely on my technique, on my basic foundational technique, something that I'm practicing every day with the method that I mentioned, for example, in the last video, just practicing the right hand isolated or the left hand isolated, and really focusing on basic movement, no experiments, no weird new techniques, the basic foundational core movement that we have when it comes to shred guitar. Of course, I'm still not there where I want to be, but that's the cool thing about practicing in this journey, that we can always grow and we can always get better. And if you are stuck with your shredding, doesn't matter if fast playing in general, speed picking, legato playing, or sweeping, and you want a way out of that plateau, then check out my Gateway to Shred, the 4-week transformational course that I designed that will tell you with easy lessons every day in 4 weeks how to get out of that plateau and how to boost your playing to the next level. Check the link in the description box for more information. It will only cost you 15 minutes every day, and those 15 minutes can change everything from your playing. So there I again realized how important it is to work on your basic core movement. Analyzing is also a really important tool. Again, as I've mentioned, constantly filmed myself while playing that, and I forced myself to play the whole thing, not stopping when I thought like, okay, I could do this a little bit better. Just let me rewind that. Let me do that again. That is a trap that we can easily fall into when we're doing stuff just for video, just for social media, or just for yourself and recording. That's an easy trap. It's really hard to discipline yourself and to say, okay, I may have fucked up a little bit that first part, but I have to go on, because in a life situation, you cannot say like, sorry, I have to start over because here that 16-0 triplet run wasn't really in sync. No, you cannot do that, to be honest. You have to continue, even though when the 16-0 triplet run was not really in time or not really in sync, and the people in the audience will know. Because that's the next thing, the audience, usually with a band like this, in the audience, they are mostly, yeah, what? You name it? Musicians. Oh, fuck yeah. And there were some world-class guitar players in the audience during those live shows. And it's not only the audience, this is also the band itself. I mean, Linus Clausenitz, the bass player, is usually standing on stage with this guy here. And this guy, Raphael Trujillo, is not only one of my heroes, but also the final boss when it comes to precise and clean playing. So I try to be at least on a bit of a level, like on Raphael. And the rest, how I practice the parts by itself, is how I always tell this here on this channel, on the ZEN of Shred Patreon Academy, with the Gateway to Shred, or with the ZEN of Speedpicking, my big online masterclass about speedpicking that you can check out with the link in the description box. And when you buy the ZEN of Speedpicking, you will get a 50% off, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. You know the advertisement kind of thing. Just buy the stuff, learn from me, and go to the next level, or buy other stuff and go to the next level, or you don't because you regret it to not buy myself, well, whatever. Let's continue. So all these kind of different methods: Running Man method, starting low, getting high, cat method, analyze method, the 7 of 9, all these methods that I and other educators designed to bring our playing to the next level really helped, of course. And now I would say, enough talking about the situation. I now think you understand why the situation is quite difficult. Now let's get into the solo, shall we? Here we go. Well, so this is the guitar that I choose to play that solo with. And I have to say, it is probably one of the best guitars that I could use for this kind of solo and this kind of playing, the Alpha guitar. Now, with the additional modifications that I did, like the strap-in on the neck, really, really cool. It really helped for the live performances. And yeah, perfect guitar, really, really great to play. Check it out in the link in the description box, or watch my review about this one here. We are tuned to D standard with a 7-string, and on that solo, I was coming out of the song Newman, where I end with low B, and then I started with this motif. Because I like to include motifs in these kind of solos so that it's kind of interesting for the audience and the listener, because it's not only to show off what you can do, but also to create music and to do some interesting. And then the last motif I started to repeat, and I played faster and faster and faster. Resolving to E. And I use that E here to, with my other hand, flip down the groove gear here, the fan fret, because it is kind of helpful for this kind of live situation and for the tapping. And I'm not ashamed of using these kind of things. Why shouldn't I? But on the first show, I didn't have this fret wrap here. I had an old one where my cat loves to play with, and it was really loose. So I really had to do something like this more. Then I started with an increasing pattern and lick. Where I combined some heavy, aggressive Paul Gilbert style picking, because that is kind of the Paul Gilbert section, together with some pull-offs. Then I was going to my favorite speed picking lick, ascending, descending through the strings, and then the pattern in 3 that I've discussed in the latest YouTube video of mine. You can watch it there if you want to learn a little bit more about this pattern. Ascending, a descending speed picking lick, and ascending scale run. And there I was really afraid of this kind of lick, because while practicing it, I realized how I got, tighten up and really tensing my muscles doing that speed picking lick. So there I really focused on, again, the breath flow, that I'm relaxed, the body scanning, and I felt something here in the back of my shoulder where I more and more tightened up doing playing, and that really blocked my fingers. So I really focused on that part of my body and being relaxed and the breath work. All right, after that comes a string skipping lick in Paul Gilbert style, E harmonic minor. And then comes the section that I played already last year and the first shows with Alkaloid, where we had like the big Bach performance, where we played a whole Bach concerto, and I had this as a little cadence. And there I tried to also include some more kind of interesting harmonies, playing some arpeggios over that, to again have something a little bit more interesting for the audience, combined with the shredding. Again, this one was quite familiar for me because I already practiced it, and I thought like, okay, it would be a waste of time not using this, and it's a cool arpeggio section and a cool kind of chord progression. You may have seen in one of my shorts where I practiced this one. So here I combined some Jeff Loomis inspired sweepings. And the chord progression is one of my favorite chord progressions. We're starting off with E minor, going to E flat major, sharing third, again E minor, going to C sharp minor, going to C major, again here as well, sharing third, A major, F major, B major as a dominant, back to E minor. And after the Jeff Loomis sweeps, I continued outlining the chord progression with some Christian Münzner inspired tapped arpeggios. These ones here. Going to C sharp minor. Then I'm sweeping the C major. And here I had to be really carefully with the transition from the inversions, but also with this inversion here. Because while filming myself, I started to realize when playing this fast, I did some fucked up shit ascending that, for example, demonstrating this slow motion would be like this. My middle finger never really got to the strings, so I had to refiguring out the actual movement and working on the core and basic movement again. So that again is a demonstration how important it is to work on the simple foundational movement before we're going to the crazy stuff. I used to skip this in the past and I highly regret it nowadays. So in that A major, playing with the inverted sweeps, going to F major, and B major as the dominant, going through the inversions, resolving to E. Now that's not the end of the solo. The end of the solo started with a planned clapping part where I tried to integrate the audience by clapping a 5/8 rhythm. Problem is, after the first show I realized it's not really working, and the German audience was like, yeah, nah. Okay, maybe when I'm in Spain or South America, this can work, but the German audience, I'm so sorry to say for all the Germans out there, yeah, nah, with the clapping way, better had to practice that again. So I skipped this part in the other performances, but then I continued with the rhythm that I wanted to play over the clapping, which goes like this. Continued with some shredding, Phrygian dominant shredding. And then I wanted to take this kind of rhythm, bam, 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 gam, bam, ba-dam, bam, 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 gam, and wanted to explore this rhythm or to continue that rhythm in some sweepings. And here I was into some 𝙬𝙗𝙦 inspired sweeps. And then ending that solo with some riffs again. And the rest of the band is getting back onto the stage, switching our sound. We're starting off with the next song, 𝙬𝙗𝙦, which is also a super, super cool, technical, progressive song. I highly recommend, if you're a fan of progressive music, to check that out. Yes, and so much about probably one of the hardest solos that I had to play live. Not necessarily only because of the solo, but also because of the circumstances of that solo. But this was a challenge that really helped me to shape me, definitely. I know I can say it after playing a few shows with it, but definitely helped me to shape me as a guitar player, because I was never in this situation before. And I highly recommend to set yourself a similar challenge. Like, for example, when you have a live gig coming up where you have the chance to play a live solo, do it. Don't be too shy of it. Or, and I did this challenge with the German podcast that I host, Let's Talk Guitar, on our Discord server, where I said, hey guys, just write a solo. Take 1 week to write a solo where you can play all the licks that you are practicing right now, but also showing off a little bit. Then take 2 weeks to practice that solo, and take the last week of that month, because we're doing challenges of the month, to perform that solo. So grab yourself a phone, a camera, whatever, hit record, and play that solo from start to end. Doesn't matter if you are full with mistakes or it's the perfect performance that you have ever seen. Doesn't matter. It is about growing. It is about getting better and creating awareness on how we can improve as a guitar player. Me, you, everybody. And if you want to improve as a guitar player, I highly recommend to check out more of this channel and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. I hope you liked this video. If yes, leave a nice comment, leave a like, and hit the subscribe button if, again, you haven't yet. Yeah, I wish you a lot of fun learning, practicing, and mastering the guitar. Cheers, and power your progress. Bye.
Mr. Justin Hopper.